were this group of young filmmakers who were sort of blazing this trail. There were like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and these guys. And and the thing that was great about having a film that had won a Student Academy Award is it was a great way to get your foot in the door, so to speak, because you could say, "Hey, listen, I got this film from SC, and would you like to look at it?" And um, they would say yes. And in the case of I did that to Steven Spielberg, and of course in those days he wasn't a famous movie director. He was but he was my hero because he was this young guy who has just been given $2 million to direct a feature film, and I just couldn't imagine. I mean, it was just unbelievable to me. And I'd seen his film Duel, and I thought it was just great. And I said, "Hey, I've got this film. Would you like to see it?" And he said, "Sure." And he set up a screening in a screening room at Universal, and I brought the film over, and he sat there, and he watched it, and he liked it, and that was the beginning of our professional relationship. Everyone in town passed on Back to the Future. Bob and I had just finished Used Cars, and we took a year and we wrote Back to the Future. And again, it's just one of those issues that you have to deal with in the business. I don't think that the decision not to make the movie was based on the material, obviously, because the material turned out to be incredibly successful. I think the decision to not make the film was based on the fact that as a director, I had a very poor track record at the box office. So the movie just couldn't get made. And subsequently what happened is I went off and directed Romancing the Stone. And when that movie became successful, then everyone looked at the screenplay of Back to the Future differently, and so then everyone wanted to make Back to the Future. So I must say, though, that there was one guy who always wanted to make Back to the Future, and I didn't want to make it with him, and that was Steven Spielberg, because I had made these two films that Steven produced, and they weren't successful, and I was afraid that if I had done another one with Steven and it wasn't successful, then I would be stigmatized as a director who can only get a movie made if Steven is his executive producer. So I said to Steven that I had to go off and make a movie away from him, which he completely understood and agreed with my career decision. So I went and I did Romancing the Stone, and then after that became successful and everybody wanted to then make Back to the Future, I felt it only appropriate and fair that I go back to the only guy who ever really wanted to make the movie to begin with, who was Steven, and so we decided that should be the next movie that I make, and he would executive produce it, and we'd go and make it for Universal. For me, the most fun is to finish the movie and sit in that first preview and to actually sense, because it's the only way you can tell that the audience is absorbed in your work, and that you are making them feel or think about something, and that's the most rewarding experience for me.